Hey, 6th hour, this is Mrs. McDowell again. I'm really sorry that I'm out again today. Big thank you to Miss Apellis for covering the class. Had something come up at the last second with a doctor appointment, and so I couldn't be there this afternoon. So I'm going to talk you guys through the steps for this. I'm going to show you a couple examples, and then I'm going to show you some other shortcuts that I found. This is just another way to factor trinomials when your a value does not equal 1. So when I'm talking about the a value and the b value, I'm talking about the coefficients. For a is in front of the x to the second power. The b value is the coefficient in front of x to the first power. So here's this process I found. It works for any polynomial that is a second degree function. So the first step, so our first problem is 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Step number 1 is to multiply your a by your c. So you just go 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, now I'm going to change my pen color here. Step 2 says look at the factors of the product you found in step 1. So factors of 30. So 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 5 times 6. Determine which two factors would add to make your b value. So our b value is negative 17. Remember, if our 30 is positive, because this is positive 5 times positive 6, these could also be negative numbers. And looking at that, I know that negative 2 plus negative 15 would give me negative 17. And negative 17 is my b value. So I know that negative 15 times 2, or times negative 2, is positive 30, which was the product we got here. That's what we're looking for. It has a product of 30. But it also has a sum of negative 17. That's our b value in our original equation. And the hint I want to give you guys here is always put the larger factor first. And you'll see why in a little bit. Step 3 is to rewrite your initial equation with the b term split up using the factors found in step 2. So it's going to be 5x squared minus 17x plus 6, but instead of writing 17x, I'm going to write 5x squared minus 15x minus 2x. So negative 15x minus 2x, I still get the negative 17x plus 6. So that's my original equation. I just rewrote the negative 17 as a negative 15 plus a negative 2. Step 4 is to think of the equation now as two halves. We've got our first half and our second half. I'm going to factor out a greatest common factor for the first half of my equation and then the second half. So I'm looking at 5x squared minus 15x. That's the first half of my equation. Greatest common factor for that would be 5x times x minus 3. And then the greatest common factor for my second equation is going to be a negative 2. So I'm going to factor out a negative 2. Minus 2 times x minus 3, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. So now if you look, these little binomials match. So essentially what I can do is I can undistribute. So I can do 5x minus 2 times x minus 3. And what I've just done is I have factored out 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. So my solutions for this one, x equals 2/5, that'll equal 0 there, or when x equals 3. The whole point of factoring it out is to figure out when the equation or when the function will equal 0. All right, let's move on. I'm going to walk through one more example, and then I'm going to go into some helpful tips. So step 1, multiply my a by my c. 3 times 8 is 24. Step 2, I'm going to look at the factors of the product I found in step 1. So I can have 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. And these can be both positive or both negative. And I want to determine which two factors I could add to make my b value. My b value in this case is negative 10, because it's negative 10x. So if I'm looking at these, boom, 4 and 6 add up to 10. But they're both going to have to be negative, which is good, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So I know that bigger number first, negative 6 times negative 4 is positive 24. And negative 6 plus negative 4 is negative 10. So far, so good. Step 3. Rewrite your initial equation, the 3x squared minus 10x plus 8, but my b value is going to be split up into the negative 6x, okay, minus 4x plus 8. All right? So all I did is I took this initial equation and I just took that negative 10x and I said that's the same thing as negative 6x minus 4x. Now it says to think of the equation as 2 halves. So I'm going to use a different color to show you the 2 halves. There's 1 half there, and there's my other half right there. Okay, and I'm going to factor out my greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor for 3x squared minus 6x is 3x times x would have given me 3x squared minus 2. And then the greatest common factor for negative 4x plus 8 is a negative 4. And I get, again, x minus 2, and I want these two binomials to match. So if they don't, something's wrong. Okay? And now I can undistribute 3x minus 4 times x minus 2. So I know if I were to graph this function, my x would equal 0 at 4/3. It would also equal 0 at 2. And nowhere on the worksheet does it say to find the solutions. I just want to keep making that connection. I think that's important. Okay, if I could have you guys go on over to the very back page. Let's look at problem number 9, because it's kind of gross. Okay, so I've got 49x squared plus 112x plus 64. Okay, so there's a couple different ways we could do this. I know that 49x squared, okay, 49 is 7 squared. And I know that 64 is 8 squared. And I'm going to show you why I'm doing this in just a minute. I want to pull out that 7 and that 8. So remember, step 1 is to multiply my A by my C. 49 times 64, and obviously you're going to want to use a calculator with this, is 3,136. Now step 2, I want you to think of all the factors of 3,136. That's horrible. There's no way you want to do that. Okay? However, remember I pointed out the 7 and the 8 there? Guess what? 7 times 8 is 56. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Sorry, guys. Is 56. Okay. I can figure out that 56 times 56 is 3,136. Okay. And 56 plus 56 equals 112, which is my B value right here. So they have to multiply to make this, the A times C, but they have to add up to make your B. Okay. All right, so let's look at step 3. Step 3 was to break apart your initial equation, to rewrite it as 49x squared plus 56x plus 56x plus 64. Step 4 is to factor out a greatest common factor out of each of these two halves. So my greatest common factor for my first half is 7x times x plus 8, because 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, plus, the greatest common factor for the second part would be 8 times, oh, I forgot to put a 7 there. That should be 7x times 7x plus 8. Sorry, caught myself. That's 7x plus 8. And then, so step 5 is to undistribute. So I have 7x plus 8 times 7x plus 8. Oh, it's a perfect square. Okay, and this is what's called a perfect square trinomial. All right, one more. Remember this trick up here? I said 9 is 3 squared, and 121 is 11 squared. Okay, that's going to come in handy in just a little bit. So step 1, you multiply step A by C, 9 times 121, and you get 1089. I have no idea what all the factors are of 1089, but I do know that 3 times 11 is 33, and, ooh, be careful, this was a negative. That's going to be important. I know that negative 33 times negative 33 is 1089. Where did I get that 33 from? 3 times 11. Okay, and I know that negative 33 plus another negative 33 will get me to negative 66. So they multiplied to make A times C, but they have a sum that's the same as this B value here, negative 66. All right, so now I can rewrite the equation. 9x squared minus 33x minus 33x plus 121. I'm going to break that into 2 separate little equations. Factor out a greatest common factor for this first one. The biggest thing I can get out of both of those is a 3x, and it's going to be times 3x minus 11 minus, I can take an 11 out of each of these. They're both divisible by 11, and that's going to give me a 3x. Negative 11 times 3 is negative 33 minus 11. Negative 11 times negative 11 is positive 121. So, again, I do have another perfect square trinomial that I'm working with here. Minus 11. Let me do my little arrow here. 3x minus 11 squared. Okay. So your task is to do your best on the rest of the worksheet. Okay, and I will be there on Tuesday, not Monday, because you guys don't have school Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.